I can't script the exact, as opposed to the rest of the script. I can't script rapport building for you, okay? It is a feel thing, an intuition thing. It is something that you got to kind of sense and develop. This is one of those things you got to develop a sense of, okay? Some people start a little stiff, and after you ask them a couple of questions, they loosen up. Some people start stiff, stay stiff. And it's like, you can tell they're kind of annoyed and they're kind of not going with it. So you got to develop this sense. But I can't tell you what's going to happen every single call. What I can tell you to do is this: when you're doing telesales, stick to the favorite hobby. Okay, just talk about the favorite hobby. If there's a way to get connected with somebody, it's going to be based off their favorite hobby. JR had another person whose favorite hobby was NASCAR, and they talked about NASCAR for like 2 or 3 minutes. It was a pretty substantive talk. This is from a couple of weeks ago. Some of you probably remember this. Okay, like that's how it usually goes. But some people just aren't talkative, for whatever reason. The point is, you should try to make a connection. Okay, you should try to differentiate yourself. Okay, and once you've done what you could have done, usually within 60 to 90 seconds, that is the time to make the transition and move into the introductory stage, and then start asking some pre-qualifying questions. Okay, to me, I don't. If I get this kind of response, again, this is a sense thing. I've asked who's your favorite driver, blah, 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 whatever else he said, just not getting some kind of engagement. I'm going to move on to the introduction, where I'm going to tell them who I am, why I'm calling, and how I can help. Okay. To me, it's like at some point, it's like I've listened enough of these calls. For the people who come off this way, they really never turn at this point in the conversation. I mean, for those of you who do this, how many times have you talked to somebody and you've tried 2 or 3 minutes and then you just, trigger, now they just love you? It doesn't usually happen that way. It might happen a little bit later as you get into the actual substance of what it is you're there for, pre-qualifying. But in the beginning, if they come off that way after a couple of times, then it's time to move on. Does that make sense, everybody? Yeah, and some people, they don't open up at all ever, right? They're just not like that. Some people get into it a little more when you start talking about rapport building and why they're there and all that stuff, right? We want to intentionally build rapport, or attempt to build rapport. That differentiates us. And most of the time it works, but sometimes it doesn't. And the next stage in pre-qualifying, if you're good at asking those questions, can be the moneymaker as far as connecting and building a connection, okay? In short, don't know what to expect. Everybody's different. Try to ask questions about the favorite hobby. If you have to, there are some questions on the script that you can lean on that are rapport-based. You can look at the script for them. But if I try a couple times and not go anywhere, let's move on. Okay. Client is taking control. The way you control a conversation is through what? Asking questions. Okay. You ever want to take control of a conversation? Ask that person a question. They ask you a question, ask them a question. Okay. It works pretty consistently. So ask a question. But what happens is, we know this as sales professionals, we have a deliberate process we're using to sell, right? And if we get off track from that process, we risk losing the sale. Okay. And see, they're controlling the conversation. Yeah, if you answer that question wrong, then what you're looking for is the potential to lose the deal before it even manifests, before you even have a chance to clarify things. You may think, because he's asked about term or whole, that he knows the difference. He may not. He may confuse them, right? That's like the tip of the iceberg of a whole series of issues that are going on beneath the surface. Here's the thing. The bigger issue here is losing control. We're not going to sit here and sell right now, right? Oh yeah, term is this, and we're trying to get back off where he interjected, right? So we want to give them some kind of answer that satisfies. Hey, great question. We actually have both and more. And that's actually why. And then we got to go back to selling why, or going back to closing or continuing with the original question. What were your thoughts and concerns? Okay. Because we're trying to get control back. That's the bigger issue right here.